Hello. It is that time of the year when there is that entire aspect of exams looming up, the 12th standard exams and the even bigger 10th standard exams. It's just right around the corner. So what is it that is going to better the performance of of a child, of an adolescent, when the when the readiness is there and the exams are just going to start? What can better performance? So I want to talk a little bit about what are the things that we can do to ourselves, to our bodies, to our minds. How can we nourish it so that we are doing our best for the exams? So now is the period where there's intense studying going on, and also the impending exams where the during between two exams there's a lot of studying, there's a lot of revision going on, and we have to be on our in our uh, best health and best energy levels, best alertness, so that we do our best. So first things first, let us not compromise on our lifestyle, and which is that let us give our bodies adequate amount of sleep. So what we need to do is that we are going to be studying for a long number of hours, yes. However, let's do that without compromising sleep. So let us look at about 8 to 9 hours of sleep every day, because that is what is going to replenish the body. So when we are planning the days just before the exam and during the exam, what's the first thing we have to do? Let's plan for that 8 hours of sleep at least. For a 15-year-old, 8 to 9 hours. 9 is the average hours of sleep that we want. The second thing that we cannot compromise on is some exercise in our life, because when there is exercise, the amount of blood coming to the brain is more, and therefore our alertness and concentration is better. It really, the blood coming to the brain when we exercise, but the increase of it really nourishes the brain. So when you're fixing your timetable, what is it that we have to put first? We put first the sleep schedule, and then we fix when is it that I'm going to go and get some exercise. Maybe it's walking, maybe it's running, maybe it's just putting on music and dance. But that activity which is there, when am I getting it? Maybe it's swimming, maybe it is just a fresh run in the garden. So whatever it is, where am I getting that exercise? It's not necessary, it has to be early morning or evening or so. Whenever one person is comfortable, the exercise schedule has to be there. However, let us schedule it. The third aspect of lifestyle that we have to look at is, are we consuming caffeine? So for young adolescents, we really do not want to advise caffeine. Definitely not in terms of energy drinks, and not in terms of a lot of chocolates. Uh, some 15-year-olds may consume tea and coffee. So, what are the things we keep in mind? I mean, is it all right? Is it not? So, the first thing is that the consumption of tea or coffee, 1 or 2 cups a day, if at all it is there, it needs to be 6 hours before bedtime. Otherwise, sleep will be compromised, and then the healing, the alertness, the concentration can be compromised. So, caffeine is something, from tea and coffee, something that we don't really want to look at for a young adolescent, 15-year-olds. However, if it is consumed, let it be consumed 1 cup maybe 6 hours before bedtime. Do we look at energy drinks? Absolutely not. That's not a right way to keep up in the night and study, and then sleep in late, or get up early and study, really challenging the sleep. Those are really not good habits at all. So while you're preparing for the exam, fix a sleep schedule, 9 hours of sleep. Let's fix an exercise schedule. What are we going to do? When are we exercising? And let's look at the caffeine intake, that how we are going to moderate it, or kind of schedule it so that it may benefit the person. Having said this, now we go on to what is it that we have to eat. And coming to this is, first, we have to take the right amount of carbohydrates. So whilst there's a lot of buzz about eating low carb diet and so on, but when there's a brain, the fuel for the brain is glucose and it is carbohydrate, and that is something we must deliver to the brain. So therefore the question, what kind? So here is where, when we are preparing for studying for the exam, at that time, let us take carbohydrates which are slow digesting. Whole grains, robust carbohydrates, not a fiber in it, because that will keep on releasing the glucose slowly into the system, and the brain will have enough energy to be alert and concentrate and study. What happens when we are in a period of study, long hours, and we take some carbohydrate, which is essentially just sugar, and not which is very fast digesting. We're not using slow digesting carbohydrate like grains, whole pulses, vegetable. If you're not using that, the sugar peaks in the system and then comes crashing down. So a person will get a lot of sugar rush at one time, and then the sugar slump is there where the alertness and concentration goes low. So while the person is studying, it's adequate, important to take carbohydrate. However, take the ones which are slow digesting. So grains and pulses and vegetable fruit is what we are going to take. Now, before the exam, if a person is going to be putting intense thought into it, and just before the exam, that's when we take mixed carbohydrates. We're going to take some carbohydrate, which is sugar, but we're also going to take some carbohydrate, which is slow digesting. So while for the exam, there is enough sugar and enough energy, at the same time, it's sustained for a period of time, and therefore the slump in the energy is not experienced. So let's look at some ideas, some ragi laddus or nut laddus, okay, or sweets or chickies, when the sugar part of it is there and the nut is also there. So, or some puddings, for example, where there's some honey into it, in it, but there are nuts and there are seeds and there is curd, and that all is slow digesting carbohydrates. Coming to the next part is protein. Be very important for us to take adequate protein. Here it is not muscle building that we're looking at. However, what we're looking at for protein is, what is the quality of protein? What amino acids are present in the protein? Because if there is a right amount of amino acids, the brain is calmer. So if we want the serotonin made, there has to be the right kind of amino acids present. If we want some motivation that dopamine gives, then we need to have good quality protein. So we need a calming aspect also, which will reduce anxiety, and we need that motivation also to study from dopamine. So it's a mixture of both that we're looking at. Therefore, good quality protein every meal and every snack is something that is great to deliver. So let's take some examples. Whenever we combine a cereal and a pulse together, dal, rice, idli, dal paratha, okay, sprout and curd, sprout raita. So when we are looking at a whole grain and a milk or a dairy product, a whole pulse and a dairy product, or a grain and pulse combination, any of this is going to add on to the protein. So and that will give good quality protein. So if you're seeing a aspect of, a non-vegetarian protein or dairy protein, and that in combination with a grain or a pulse is very good, or a grain and a pulse combination is also very good. So that's what we have to really endeavor, that we're not going to have only chapati bhaji. Okay, we're going to add some dal and some curd component to it. Then the protein becomes wholesome. We are not going to be looking at only sprouts, which a person has to consume. We're going to add a little bit of curd to it, or a milk, which is had along with the sprouts, so that the protein component is good. So every main meal and every snack should have good quality protein. Extremely important. Coming to the fat. Now, the brain is made up of saturated fat. It's not the kind of fat we usually like or we want to consume more of. However, saturated fat is what is required for the brain development and neuronal development, nerve tissue development to take place. And therefore, we need to give a balance. There is no restriction of fat also. Of course, it's not copious amounts, but fat can be there in the diet. And most important, what need not be there are the trans fats. So the vanaspati and the margarines, which have trans fats in them, or a fried product, those are not the fats that we want. However, nuts or whole fat milk, dairy for that matter, or various kinds of oils that we are using in cooking, some mustard oil, soya oil, groundnut oil. We're using these oils. Those are great for the brain too. Also, what is important is, are you taking omega-3? I cannot stress enough on this. Are we taking omega-3? Because that is required for cognition, for memory, for alertness, concentration. So where do we get it from? So flaxseed, walnuts, chia seeds are great sources of omega-3 fats, and so is also fish, that is fatty fish, salmon, also pomfret, mackerel, tuna, great sources, or for that matter, a little bit of a supplement which is used, which is omega-3 supplement, can be started as required. But of course, take the input of a nutritionist. But that's going to really help the brain function optimum. And very important is the vitamins and minerals. Okay, we are looking at vitamin D helping the brain. We're looking at vitamin C, vitamin E, and all the B vitamins very much required for nerve development, nerve protection, and nerve function. So it's a robust diet that we are having, which has nuts and seeds and non-vegetarian protein or vegetarian protein adequacy. We are having fruit and vegetables and sprouts. It's a robust diet that one is consuming, and that is going to better the functioning of the brain. Very important is iron for the brain, because iron helps in synaptic connections. It helps in the neuron transferring its signal from one neuron to another, and the functioning of the brain is also iron dependent. So enough iron from whole grain cereals, pulses, the rajgira, or the millets that are there, the whole wheat which is there, liver, which is a great source of iron, green leafy vegetables, which are good source of iron, or garden grass seeds, which is a great source of iron. It's so important to put that iron into the diet. So all these things are what has to be had, along with zinc and magnesium, two key nutrients that the brain must receive. So there are so many other nutrients, minerals also, which are equally important. We're looking at antioxidants, selenium, we're looking at calcium, adequacy of sodium, potassium, all of that is there. But the key message is, let's take a nice, robust, diversified diet, eat well from the kitchen, okay, which is robust home cooked meals rather than something out of a packet or ordering in, which will not have a lot of the components that we have spoken about. So very mindfully putting these things into practice. This is for the person who's giving the exam, the student, okay, as well as a caretaker, the mother, or whoever else is taking care, that it's very mindfully designed to make that right diet so that the brain is functioning to its optimum. And yes, hydration is the key, because we make sure you're very well hydrated and drinking enough water so that the cells are functioning beautifully. So here is that blueprint for what is it that you have to eat to make the brain function well. And you may want to add phytochemicals as turmeric. You may want to use various fruits and vegetables, which are also having flavonoids, which will help the brain. You may want to use some green tea. Some caffeine comes from that, but it's really not as much. But it also gives antioxidants. So you may want to use that. And here is a secret of how to put that diet together and lifestyle pattern together for a very good preparedness for the exam. So go to our blog at nutritionwithvibha.com and read this more in detail. We have some recipes also for you. So go through that and start incorporating everything that we are talking about as soon as possible. And be sure to eat well for your exams, eat right for your exam, and may you be blessed to write the best papers ever, and to remember everything at the right moment and right time, and absolutely do your best in acing the board exams. So all the best to you. Go to our blog, subscribe, add your comments if you like the blog, but more importantly, please use it and apply it. So stay blessed and stay nourished, and all the best for acing your board exams.